Whatever you're into, it's on Prime. Maybe you love pop music. With Prime, you can watch documentaries about your favorite bands, stream all their albums on Amazon Music, and even order some merch in time for their next concert, all in one place. From shopping to streaming, it's on Prime. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to get more out of whatever you're into.
This episode is brought to you by Tinder. Cuffing season is in full effect, which makes Tinder the place to be right now. There's a new wave of folks coming back to the app ready to find love, fun, or just a new friend. And if you're worried about never meeting up with your matches IRL, don't be. 1.5 million Tinder users go on dates in person every week. Explore all of the possibilities for yourself. Tinder. It starts with a swipe. Download Tinder today.
You must come to help me find the jewel. What jewel? The jewel of the Nile. Our most priceless jewel. Oh, that jewel.
Hello and welcome to Unequal Sequel. My name is Dave and I'm one of the two hosts of this flaming hot podcast.
Oh, like Monster Munch. I like it.
Yeah.
And I'm Rich and I'm the other host of this flaming hot podcast. Think of me as Obelix to Dave's Asterix. I'm massive, but he's deceptively strong.
Perfect. I love Asterix and Obelix. The premise of Unequal Sequel is very simple. We ask our guests their best ever sequel, worst ever sequel, and finally their dream sequel.
And of course, quite often drift off and talk about movies and other things, because we like to.
Yeah. And we also delve into spoiler territory on a few of the films we talk about. So if you're worried about spoilers or haven't seen one of the movies we talk about, just skip that part and then come back. Okay?
Yeah. Good idea.
Yeah. On today's episode, we are joined by Jane Crowther.
Jane is a brilliant film journalist. She is the editor-in-chief of Total Film magazine, which is a brilliant film magazine that you should all go out and have a look at. She does brilliant film criticism, and was a wonderful guest.
Yeah. We are very excited to sit down and chat all things sequels with Jane.
These are Jane Crowther's Unequal Sequels. Enjoy!
Do you remember the first sequel you got excited about recently or when you were young?
I mean, when I was little, the film I saw loads of times at the cinema, that was my big one that I went repeatedly, was Back to the Future. So yeah, that was the one that I can remember being actively excited about a sequel.
Do you remember did you go and see it at the cinema, or was it VHS at home from the school?
No, cinema for that, yeah, because the Back to the Future was my big cinema-going experience, the thing I really sort of watched repeatedly. So definitely number 2 in the cinema in Bradford. At the Odeon. I'm
so jealous. Is it what makes you love Back to the Future so much? Was it Michael J. Fox?
Yes, I was a big Family Ties fan, so that was not a small factor in it. But it is just an absolutely perfect film. It's completely timeless, and I show it to young kids now. That like anyone that hasn't seen Back to the Future, I'm like, oh hey child, let me show you this, and it doesn't matter what generation you're from, you get it and you understand it. And you're like, oh. That's really weird that his mum's trying to kiss him. And, the idea of time travel is something that I love anyway in any film, because just so wish it existed for real. Perhaps it does. No government is telling us. But, I would love to have a DeLorean, and very, very nearly bought one whilst drunk at an auction, a car auction in Palm Springs once, but realised that it didn't actually run. And it was in Palm Springs, so there'd be no way I could get it home or actually make it a thing. And also, those things don't fit in your garage, do they? The gull wing is no good in a modern house, no. So yeah, thankfully, it was a fleeting moment that I nearly bought one. But sometimes I still think about it and think, wouldn't it be cool if just outside on my road with its parking permit for Hackney, there was a DeLorean?
That'd be amazing.
It would. I saw a picture the other day that someone had turned an old Volkswagen Scirocco into a DeLorean lookalike. It was.
So my mum had a silver Scirocco, so this was the closest that I got. I used to get dropped off and picked up in school in the Scirocco, and we used to think it's as close as we'll get to DeLorean.
I'm not a car person. Do the doors do that?
No.
Sadly,
Scirocco?
No.
Oh.
Got that sort of blunt nose that a DeLorean had, and
Okay. I got
a
you.
sort of VW kinda version of a DeLorean.
Yeah.
Amazing. Do you think the sequel's better than the first one in Back to the Future? Or even the third one, in that matter?
No. You cannot beat the first one. The first one's perfection. There's all sorts of things I have problems with in the second and the third. I still love them, but no, it's number one for me all the way.
Do you have any love for the third one?
It's okay, you know.
Breaking my heart.
Yeah. Is it your favourite?
I think 2's my favourite because it's got lots of the first one, and I like the future stuff. But I've got a soft spot for 3. I think it might have been my first one I watched. And I had the computer game on my Mega Drive, and it was the most impossible game I've ever played in my life. I can never get past the first level. It just brings back good memories.
Yeah.
So you're a 1, 2, 3 kind of fan.
Yes, that's the order I would put them in.
I respect that. Rich, are you the same? Or you?
Yeah, I'm 1, 2, 3 as well. We've had this discussion before, I think, Dave. Where
it's because Back to the Future is like nearly perfection trilogy. It's probably the most perfect trilogy.
Yes, and God help anyone who ever tried to mess with that.
They're not going to go, right?
No, they can't. It would be absolute sacrilege. But I am keen to see the stage show, though, to see what they do with the DeLorean on a stage. So that's my sort of next foray into the Back to the Future world, I think.
Right, let's get on to the big question, which is always the interesting question. It's a Monday, so what is your best sequel today?
My best sequel is Before Sunset, which is the sequel to Before Sunrise.
It's a great film. Me and Rich have only watched this recently. Why do you love it so much?
I think because I loved the first one. I don't think I'd seen a film sort of like that was just two people talking, and that the script was so good and so involving that you didn't need anything else. You just watched two people flirt their way around Vienna, and that it ended on this bittersweet note that, you know, would they meet again? Would they get back together? And I love that. I love a bittersweet ending. I love, you know, Brief Encounter and things like that, or, you know, Casablanca, where it could be different, but actually life isn't like that, and it's imperfect, and it's kind of beautiful that it's imperfect. So I loved that film for that reason. And then when they were making the sequel, the fact that all of the people involved in it were the same people and sort of were safeguarding that sort of perfect film, made me really excited to see what they do with this. And it's just, you know, everybody understands this feeling that they explore in Before Sunset, of the one that got away, and what if you had seen them, what if you had met them, what if you had said sorry at that moment and they hadn't left, where would you be, and what would it be like? And that sort of delicious sort of fizzle between two people that have this romantic history that never fully sort of got going. And I think they explore that beautifully. And the fact that it's in sort of real time, obviously camera tricks and script tricks, but it is essentially the couple of hours before he gets on the plane back home to his whole other life. And the fact that once again it ends on this tantalizing cliffhanger of what will happen. Will they take it further? And you're just willing them to. And that beautiful ending, I love that. That's what I love most about it, that he's just watching her dance in the kitchen, and you think, I think he's going to miss that plane, but they don't tell you that, but you're like, yeah, I think he is, I hope he is, I want him to miss that plane. I love it. It's fantastic.
It's a great sequel. We haven't, Rich, have you seen the first one yet?
I have seen the first one now. I think the second one's better, actually.
Yeah,
I prefer the second one to the first one. Maybe that's because I'm just older and I relate a little bit more to the second one than the first one, because, you know, that kind of teenage love is long gone for me now. I've not seen the third one yet, though, so maybe the third one will resonate as well. But the second one, I just think it's perfect. I absolutely love it, and I love how it just drops you as a voyeur into their conversation. You know, it's like you're secretly following them round and watching their conversation. You know, it's just the perfect bit of people watching. It's amazing. And
Paris as well, you know, just looks, it makes Paris look wonderful. Not that it isn't wonderful, but it really is sort of this lovely place to walk and talk and grab a glass of wine and walk by the river and, you know, just talk about nonsense. And I think the script really gets
flirting. You know, we see a lot of terrible flirting in films, where people have sort of got bants or wisecracks or sort of say weird things because they think it's quirky cute, and it's just weird. And the way these two people interact and flirt with such loaded things that they say that you know they're sort of saying something else as well is how real people talk, I think.
It's very natural, isn't it? They've got great chemistry, those two. Do you think it would work if they put them like in a horrible city? I'm trying to think of a place that's horrible.
They were in Slough, just walking around in the rain.
Slough, yeah. Would it have the same effect, or is Paris plays a character, doesn't it?
I think that's the case with all of these films. Vienna is a character in the first one, Paris in the second one, and then a beautiful Greek island in the third. I think it is part of the whole thing, and it's the third person in the narrative, really. Yeah, it totally works better because it's Paris.
It makes it does what a lot of British films do for London, is that it just makes Paris look perfect.
Oh yeah.
And I've been to Paris a few times, and it's definitely not perfect. It's definitely not.
But, you know, maybe if you'd met an old girlfriend who has a lovely apartment, then she took you back to play you records and, you know, walked you to her little bistro on the corner, maybe it would be as beautiful as that for you.
Maybe.
Yeah, Rich.
Maybe. Personally, I found Paris is about as romantic as Birmingham, but, you know, that would have, you know, I didn't have that experience.
Need Julie Delpy to guide you round.
I do.
Yeah, you need a guide.
I really do.
It's not a travel show, but I liked Paris when I went there. I found it very romantic. I went like a semi honeymoon until at night, and then I walked along the river at night, and it was just thousands of rats. And that wasn't so romantic.
Yeah.
But until
then it
that
all
point,
gets a bit
it was
Les
lovely.
Mis there, doesn't it? Yeah. You don't want that bit.
Or a bit ratatouille. I was like, oh, that's fine. They're going to be friendly. They're going to make me dinner.
He makes a great 5-star Michelin-starred dish. It's fine. Just think about that.
All I can think about Paris is a croque monsieur. That's the only. I love it. Do you have a favourite scene in Before Sunset?
I mean, I think it's probably that final one. Just the way that Ethan Hawke looks at Judy and she's dancing, and the smile that creeps across his face, and there's no real words needed, and it's a sort of funny little obscure song, and she's just dancing around. And you think, I think you're not going to get that plane. I love that. It's just perfection.
So when it came out, how much were you waiting for it? How much anticipation was it? Were you working? Was it a screening at that point, or was it at home?
Yeah, and I love all of those guys. I love Delpy, I love Hawke, I love Linklater. I think they're just all great. So all of their work, really, apart from a Werewolf in Paris, which we'll gloss over for Judy, but all of their work really is really thoughtful and interesting and feels alive. And so to see them get together, and also I love the fact, you know, he explored this much more in other projects, but I love the fact that they waited that amount of time and then did it when they were older people and different people. And then again with the third one, waited again so that it really reflected their own real life and the messiness of life and the things that you do learn and why you're different when you're, a decade older than you were running around Vienna as a student in Doc Martens. I just think it's really clever the way they play with that.
Yeah. Do you think it would work for like a 20-year-old, or do you think it works for people in their mid-30s best, who can relate with it more?
Oh, I think anyone can relate to that. You don't have to be. Yeah, it's love. It's that boy or that girl that you didn't fulfill the sort of romantic promise with, and what would happen if you re-met. Would you find that you had missed an opportunity, or would you be like, thank God I didn't get into a relationship with them? I think anyone can relate to that.
Yeah. Would you be interested in a fourth one if it came along?
Yes.
Would you be interested? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I would like to see those guys as grandparents and what they're up to, and whether they're still together, whether they're co-parenting, apart, or whatever it is that they're doing. I'd really like to see what they're doing. I'd like to see, every couple of years, just to check in with Jesse and see what he's up to and how much of a idiot he is, because that's the other thing I like about it. They're not afraid to make Jesse, he's not a perfect boy. He's not like a Hollywood dream boy. He is quite messy and arrogant and selfish and all of those things, as well as being charming and dashing and silly and romantic. So I want to see what he's doing now.
Do you think there'd be a scenario where they would film it in America, like New York or somewhere, or LA or whatever town he's from?
Yeah, totally could work. I feel like Ethan Hawke is a New Yorker, don't you?
Yeah. I think in this film he mentions he tried living in New York for a few years, but he doesn't like it, and he moved back home, and I can't remember where that is.
Texas.
Now.
Yeah, Texas is
Texas.
I would very much like to see a New York version. Yeah,
I think that'd be
see
interesting.
them getting together with a family.
Oh, introducing new characters. I think this works so well because there's barely any cast as well. For those two just to carry it for the whole film is just incredible.
Yeah.
That's what's great about it, though. It's great that it's just the two of them. That's what makes it so good. Is that nowhere else makes it complicated. No one else gets in the way. There's just a few incidental people working in the bookshops and
the cafe,
the cafe. Yeah. It just makes it about them. And I'm not a massive Ethan Hawke fan. I never have been a really big Ethan Hawke fan. But honestly, I could just watch this film over and over again. It doesn't matter. It's so I'd forget that I don't like him.
Oh, Ethan,
well, it seems so
natural,
though. He's a horrible person. You forget that it's actually you think they're just filming a couple, follow them for most of it. That's how natural it is. And
I think it's also that you really see their real shared history as well, because they are good friends and they really do keep in touch, and they do have this very natural sort of ambiance with each other, and you can see that entirely and believe it, and it feels authentic because it really is, and they are old friends. It just works perfectly for me.
Yeah. When you're suggesting this to a new person who hasn't seen any of the Sunset films, how do you go about describing it? What's your selling point?
Well, one of the selling points is it's not long. In this day and age, it's 2 hours and a bit, nearly 3 hours for a Bond film. Yeah. I love a 90-minute film that isn't requiring a lot of you. You are just sit down, watch it. It's 90 minutes of your life, and it will transport you. So, that sounds really awful and not artistic to say that, but it is one of the things, it's a 90-minute film of pure perfection, and you will feel as though you've been to the city that they're in, and you will feel connected to those characters in that time. And it's just a real exercise in economy, isn't it? That you can do so much in an hour and a half. It is possible. You don't need 3-hour running time to get to a place where those characters live with you for a long time after you've finished the film.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I think if you watch a lot of films, then you're just crying out for a 90-minute film. I'm really done with 3-hour-long films now. Especially long action sequences and overflowing slow-mo. I'm done with that. Give me 90 minutes of two people walking around Paris talking.
Well, there's no wasted minute, is there, in this? It's all important.
Well, no, because it has to be, doesn't it? Because that's the fallacy of it, that it's in real time. So you can't really have them just fannying around, going to the loo or whatever it is. It has to work in that time period that you set yourself. And sometimes that works for other films, and sometimes it really doesn't.
And this one, it really does. Yeah, I like this. I haven't watched the third one yet, so I'm trying to skate around the spoilers because I'm still trying to wait for there's a nice box set, isn't there? And I want a 4K box set because I'm upgrading the collection now.
Absolutely.
From cloud storage to cold storage, hardware to tableware, business expenses look different to every business. With American Express Business Gold, you get 4 times membership rewards points on your top 2 eligible spending categories each month, like advertising purchases, so you can enjoy looking forward to great rewards. Terms and points cap apply. Learn more, including important category limitations, at americanexpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold, built for business by American Express.
For gifts that bring holiday joy, I head to Ulta Beauty. And that includes gifts for yours truly. Like this Dyson Airwrap, the statement gift of the season. Perfect for mom and for me. Here's a Floral Carolina Herrera fragrance and Tula skincare kit for my Secret Santa. And ooh, I got these shimmery Pat McGrath and Tarte eyeshadow palettes for my friend Jen. And yep, for me. Shop the gifts that bring joy to everyone on your list this holiday season. Ulta Beauty. The possibilities are beautiful.
It's our duty to support veterans as they transition to their next mission, like Ben, who found his new career at Boeing through the SkillBridge program.
We lead and work with some of the most highly motivated and talented people in the country. The SkillBridge kind of helps you translate all that experience.
And Kareen, who found her next purpose with The Mission Continues.
Once you get out of the military, you don't lose that sense to want to give and to want to make a difference.
Learn more about the programs for veterans and their families at boeing.com/veterans.
What is the most disappointing sequel you've seen? As in, it's not the worst, but you went in with high expectations and you came out and you're like,
oh my god. Oh, I know.
Brilliant.
It 2.
It 2.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I thought they did a absolutely fabulous job with It Chapter 1. And having been a massive fan of the original TV version with Tim Curry, and then being very disappointed with what happened in the latter sort of stages of that film, when I saw It Part 1, I was like, oh my god, it is... Oh, no. Surely there's people out there that don't know that he turns into a... and so, yeah, and I was just hoping that they'd decide to go off-piste and think, you know what? This doesn't work and let's do something different. And I hoped against hope that would happen, and it started out really well and then it just went down that rabbit hole. And it's that thing you're talking about again of, you know, half an hour of weird CGI actiony crap that I'm like, oh, yeah, and I'm not scared anymore now. Because and then the denouement, which is, oh, you can stop him by doing this, you're like, what? Oh,
it's what? So long. It's so long.
Yeah, it's so long. And, you know, I think, you know, McAvoy and Chastain and everyone do some great stuff. And I love all that beginning bit and the threateningness of the, you know, the opening sequence of him turning up and being absolutely terrifying on the banks of a river and the balloons and everything. It has such great promise. And then, yeah, it's just that big old spider again, isn't it?
I know Rich hasn't seen this because he doesn't watch horror films.
I haven't. It's
okay.
It's not that I don't deliberately watch horror films. It's just they don't really appeal. If there's something else, I'll watch something else instead, really.
I mean, this Pennywise is just... I mean, I actually cried watching it. It gave me such the heebie-jeebies that I had to sort of have a little pause. It was... You know, when you're so terrified, you're a bit like teary. That was me. I thought it was so good, the Part 1, but then... Yeah,
it's great. It just doesn't stick the landing Part 2, does it?
No, not at all, sadly.
Do you think it's not as frightening when, in the Part 1, it's frightening because it's against kids and, you know, it's nightmarish. And then you get to the second one and they're adults and you think, oh, adults should be able to deal with this a little bit better than, you know, children.
No, it's just that stupid, what he really is business, isn't it? It's just, you know, so stupid.
It's so stupid.
Did
you go to the press screening of this by any chance?
Yes.
In London on the IMAX
yes.
one? And it went on forever because they had an introduction.
Yes. Yeah. It was just another one that was too long. And very disappointing.
It wasn't great. That's a great answer. We haven't had that one yet, and we're going to use that for examples when we ask this future question. What is your worst sequel ever? And this is a cracker.
It is Jewel of the Nile, the sequel to Romancing the Stone. Talk about promise being squandered. This was a wonderful film. This is one of my favourite films. Joan Wilder's adventures in Cartagena, with, you know, that amazing theme tune and everything else. And then, Jewel of the Nile comes along. Ugh. I mean, Billy Ocean video, everyone in a white suit. Nothing you're doing, Kathleen and Danny DeVito and Michael Douglas. Doing all that dancing in Billy Ocean's video isn't going to set off the fact that this is absolute garbage.
It is.
I mean, it really is. It really is. We've talked about it before in the last series, didn't we? And it's so bad. So bad. And, I mean, it's just... There's only one joke in it. Just Danny DeVito falls off a camel. That's your joke.
Yeah.
See you later.
And, you know, like this crazy thing that they were like, You know that bit that's kind of awkward in the first film where, you know, Michael does a little boogie? Shall we revisit that? Yeah, let's do that, because it wasn't awkward enough in the first one. Let's make it super awkward and have it in a weird tribal dance that's not offensive at all. I mean, that's the other thing about this. It has not aged well, has it?
Nope. No, not
so
at all.
I don't even think it was okay when it came out, to be honest. The sort of let's all laugh at, you know, people living in Arabic countries, because that's amusing. It really is quite dodgy and problematic now. Joan Wilder as well, just, you know, at the end of the first one, she had become, you know, a strong woman who was capable of looking after herself. And once again, they're like, yeah, let's just dial that back to being utterly hopeless and having to be rescued. Mm-hmm. What a shame. Yeah. You know, we've given her this journey in the first one, and she's now capable. We're just going to forget that she ever had that adventure and stick her in the middle of another thing where Michael Douglas has to rescue her.
You're a big fan of the original Romance in the Stone, right?
I love it.
What do you love about that film? And then we'll
I mean,
is it the chemistry? Because
I think the chemistry is amazing, isn't it? I do love Michael Douglas as an actor. I think he's really great in everything from, you know, Wall Street to Falling Down. I love Basic Instinct. You know, that's a guilty pleasure of mine because it's so wrong. But again, and he has the chemistry with Kathleen in this that he so doesn't have with Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct, which is partly why I love it. Also, the fact that he goes to a disco in a V-neck wool sweater. Anyway, that's another film. This one is great because, you know, I love Joan Wilder as a character. This cat lady in New York who gets sick on the escalator at Bloomingdale's, has never been on a plane, just absolutely hopeless, takes high heels to the jungle, and then ends up in the middle of the jungle with a very peeved off Jack. And Jack Colton is not a man to be trifled with, and you're like, of course they're going to fall in love. But that it's such a really good example of that chalk and cheese, that they hate each other so much that they actually fancy each other. Yeah, and you know, I love Danny DeVito in this. I love the whole the map finding. I love a map finding thing. You know, I love Indiana Jones. I love the Goonies. I love looking for treasure. Who doesn't? Yeah. So it's got that element. And yeah, just some great one-liners. You know, I love the guy who's like the sort of drug kingpin that they knock on the door of, and it looks all really bad, but he's actually a massive fan of romance novels. And he's like, John Crowther. Just stupid. I love it. It's great. And also, you know, like, I live for the day now that, you know, the world is opening up again, of going to Cartagena purely to get off the plane and say, is this the bus to Cartagena? Because I want to be Joan Wilder. Yeah, I think it's a fabulous film.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and it had everything going for it that could be a franchise. I think the studio, I can't remember what studio it was, must have looked and thought, okay, we might have this Indiana Jones type adventure romp here. Let's get them going again as soon as possible. But you've probably read all the stories about how wrong it went, or before filming.
Yes, I mean, Kathleen Turner was sued to do it. She was like, this script is pap, and they were like, no, contractually obliged. So yeah, I mean, it was not a happy inception for this film, and I don't think anybody involved felt that we were making anything very good. Yeah. And maybe that's why it really doesn't work, because you can feel that watching it, that it's just going through the motions, and we're just taking the money and doing the script and off we go. But it doesn't have the fun either, you know, the twinkle in, you know, Michael Douglas's eye that you have in the first one, and Kathleen Turner as well. Like, they're just not into it at all. And this whole idea as well that the jewel is a man. Ooh, that's disappointing too, isn't it? I love a bit of treasure. I want treasure. Where's my treasure?
I'm still not quite sure what the storyline is, to be honest. I was watching it today and I'm still a little bit baffled, and it's just so dull.
It's
so boring.
Yeah, just a lot of chasing across sand dunes, isn't it? And weird.
There's a bit in a plane that doesn't even go off anywhere.
Yeah, a bit in a plane that just basically takes out loads of laundry, doesn't it? That's thing. I don't know what was going on here.
There does seem to be a little chemistry still between Kathleen Turner and Michael Douglas. Whether that's hate in their eyes instead of love this time round, but they do. Like you mentioned, Basic Instinct. They're still better than Michael Douglas and Sharon Stone. You know, they still feel like they, you know, at least have met each other before.
Yes, yeah. I think most people have more chemistry. I think we have more chemistry than Michael Douglas and Sharon Stone. So,
Thank you.
But I mean, that's a whole other podcast, which is, just dreadful films I love. Basic Instinct is one of my favourites. So
I'd listen to it.
I mean, that's the only positive thing I've got about this. That's it. I'm done.
I mean, when you've got a sequel that's so bad that it makes you think fondly of Basic Instinct, then it's not good, is it? And that's the criteria I'm talking about. I'm actually thinking, it's been a while since I've watched Basic Instinct. I might suffer through that tonight rather than
don't put that sequel on.
Yeah,
no,
more.
Definitely don't put two of that.
I mean, if we're talking about terrible sequels, wow, Stan Collymore.
Wow. That was weird casting.
Yeah.
Oh man. Back to Ransom. I think Rich said it last time that this film is so bad that you forget how bad it is, and then you go back to it and think it can't be as bad as I thought it was.
That is the worst thing about this film. Is that it's terrible in a really forgettable way, and so you think it can't be that bad. I will just watch it again, and then you go, no, it is that bad. It just tricks you into watching it again.
Yeah, and someone will say to you, "Why is it so bad?" And you're like, I don't know.
Maybe I'll watch it again.
I can't recall a single element about it, and that's because there isn't anything that makes you recall it. It's just pap.
All I knew for years was the music video. I thought that was always from the first one.
No.
And then someone told me, oh no, that's for the sequel. I was like, there's a sequel? I'll check that out, and I was bitterly disappointed. When you went first to see Jewel of the Nile, how excited were you? Were there rumours that it was bad, or were the trailers selling it for you at that point, or did you go in blind for this is gonna be great?
I don't know. I think I just had great faith that why would it not be the same again with these people? I love these people. I love Kathleen Turner. Yeah, I don't know that I was sold anything in particular, but yeah, I just was like, watching it.
Oh, no. That's the general feeling of it, isn't it? Right? It's just,
yeah.
That's how you sum it up.
Would you have accepted a third one if it came along? Would you go back for a third?
I would, of course. Actually, probably if they did, it's the massive rage at the moment to take a film that came out in the 80s and do a clever revisit, like a Ghostbusters Afterlife, or a Blade Runner 2049. To do something so I would happily watch Kathleen Turner and Michael Douglas on another adventure if they did it cleverly, but there's nothing clever about this second one, so it'd have to be very different from that.
Their kids or something, that'd be too predictable.
Grandkids, I would think at this point.
Well, no, I would think is you send their grandkids off they go on a backpacking holiday, get into trouble, and they're like, send a message home, and who goes in to rescue? The grandparents do, because the grandparents are very capable, and they understand how to get through the jungle and how to chop off the heels of Italian shoes and ride mudslides and survive going over a waterfall in a Citroen C5. So all good.
I'd watch that.
I'd watch that too. Sounds cracking. I'm always a little bit sad they never got around to a third one. And then I remember how bad the second one was.
They read the reviews and they were like, let's leave that, I reckon.
I've always heard rumours of a remake as well. I don't know how that will take off, but without Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner and their...
Well, you've got kind of a remake coming out. Not a remake, but a sort of nod to with the Lost City of D with Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum that's coming out next summer, which is, she, I think, is a romance novelist and he is the model for the cover of her book, and they end up in the jungle in a real life scenario of one of her novels. So essentially they have remade it. But and you can take my money right now for Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum in the jungle. I'm there for it.
Yeah, that sounds excellent.
I really hope that Channing Tatum's useless in the jungle. If he's the model,
really,
then she's really good. Yeah.
She
saves him. That would be nice.
I'm hoping. I can't imagine it isn't that, to be honest. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
What is the sequel that you got dragged kicking and screaming to see, and then it turned out to be really good or quite good? Is there a film you reviewed or a screening you've been to that you didn't want to go to, and it turned out to be, that was actually quite good fun?
Our prime example is the Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, I think. Is that neither of us were neither of us particularly wanted to see it, and we both came out going, "That was fun."
Jane does not feel the same about that.
No, I absolutely loathe that one.
That was our first film back in after the pandemic. We were actually allowed back into
Well, I
London.
mean, frankly, anything you watch back after the pandemic, you're just like giddy, weren't you? It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's on a big
90%
screen.
of it. Yeah, absolutely.
We should watch it again, Rich. You might find out it's rubbish.
Yeah, I didn't pause it in the middle to put some laundry on or get an Amazon parcel from the man at the door. It was a dark room. I went on set of Thor Into the Dark World #2 and was very excited, thought it'd be great, saw it on, and the Thursday I was like, oh god, freaking elves, the dark elves and this nonsense, this is awful. I think I'm dreading the next Thor movie. And then of course it was Thor Ragnarok, so I went into Thor Ragnarok with very low expectations, and of course it was Taika Waititi and him playing the rock guy Karg, and just this irreverence, and Tessa Thompson being just amazing and excellent. So yeah, I think Thor Ragnarok was the one that I had extremely low expectations, had to go for work, really, really enjoyed. And speaking of sort of bad sequels as well, starring Tessa Thompson, I was also on set of Men in Black with Tessa and Chris Hemsworth, and hoped for the best for that, and it didn't come out well either. So
no.
Tessa, tick. Thor Ragnarok. Tessa, no, for Men in Black.
Yeah,
I think that's a great shout.
Were you in Greenwich, or was it somewhere more?
For the Thor one, I was actually on the back lot on Thanksgiving Day, actually, and we all had a Thanksgiving lunch on that day. So yes, we were at I think it was Longcross, that one, and I was in the Great Hall. I was on the Dark Elves spaceship, prodding the sides of that. Went into the armourers section. Saw little elf heads everywhere. Yeah, did the whole thing and felt very excited. And then saw it, and it was not good.
Is going on set, is that always a good sign? Like, can you tell if a film's going to be bad or good?
Never.
I've always wondered that.
Well, sometimes, no, actually, there is one film that I got on set, and when I came back, I said, that is not going to do anything. And they want it to be a franchise, and it absolutely won't. So there was one that I definitely could feel that. But, you know...
Can you say what one that is?
It was, what's it called?
That was how good it was.
The one about the little boy that's a bit of a genius capturing fairies that Kenneth Branagh directed.
Artemis Fowl?
Thank you, Artemis Fowl. Went on
that
Artemis
was
Fowl.
truly horrific.
And they had built an entire proper set in the style of a, Privet Drive Harry Potter style thing, with the optimism of that being multiple films. But yeah, it felt like it wouldn't go anywhere, and then it did come out and it wasn't any good. So, which I'm sad about, because Kenneth Branagh's a great director. And
that's a lot of people love those books.
Yeah, they do, but it didn't work. But yes, most of the time when you're on a set, you don't really have any idea, because you can't see the finished item. You have no idea. You're often going in the middle of a film. You're turning up on Bond on day 39 or whatever, and they're doing something that's in the middle, and you've no idea how it fits into the story, what it will look like, how those effects will look. And it's very disjointing from what it looks like to what it ends up like. When you watch something with special effects and everything, when I was on Men in Black, it was the scene outside St. Paul's with the two twins coming up the road, and, they're shooting all the guns, and they were literally had rubber guns that they were just going, and people shouting bang, and it looks daft when you see people do it. I mean, I take my hat off to actors for being able to actually suspend their disbelief to do this stuff, because I'd just be like, but this looks rubbish, what I'm doing here. But of course it looks much better when it's had all the editing, the sound design, the special effects, the music. It looks great at the end. But yeah, you can't really tell when you just go on one day in the middle of a shoot.
This episode is brought to you by Starry. When you drink Starry Lemon Lime Soda, every sip is a win. Perfect for game time or anytime. It's a crisp, refreshing lemon lime soda that's caffeine-free and bursting with flavor that makes you go, ah. Starry hits different. Find it in stores or online today.
You can do a lot just by sitting down. You can take a break, or a nap, or crack open a novel. That then becomes a nap. You can enjoy a park bench, or really not enjoy a park bench. Is that gum? You can do a lot of things by sitting down. Like start your next journey.
The all-electric Volkswagen ID4 with intuitive sit to start. It's the little things. It's a VW.
What are you hammering?
Brock's candy canes.
Candy canes?
Yeah, I'm turning Brock's famous candy canes into my famous holiday peppermint bark.
With a hammer?
Yeah, I crush up candy canes, spread them on the sheet pan, pour melted white chocolate over them, and refrigerate.
I see.
Yeah, why are you holding a wreath?
Well, I was going to hang it.
But you need the hammer.
Mm-hmm.
Brock's. Make moments sweeter.
Let's do dream sequel.
Yeah.
Because this is an interesting pick. What is your dream sequel?
So this links very much to Before Sunset, in as much as the film that I loved in the last few years was Call Me By Your Name. And it was only half the book that was adapted for the screen. A bit like Dune, and also starring Timothée Chalamet.
Like everything at the moment.
Yeah. Well, yes. I mean, he's in Wonka. He's popping up everywhere. He's in the new Guadagnino. He's everywhere. But yes. So this, I love this film, and I love that tantalizing ending that they part, and you finish on a phone call, and you don't know if they'd ever meet again. If you've read the book, you know that they do. But for purposes of this film, you never know where it goes, or if they could have got back together, where would it have led them? So like Before Sunset, I would like to meet them again in their older forms, which is in the book. There is a bit more in the original book, and then there is a whole second book that's been written by Andre Asselman recently in the last couple of years, that does have them meet up when Elio, who was the 17-year-old boy, is now in his 30s and a piano player in Paris, and Oliver is a married professor in New England. And what would happen if Elio did go and visit Oliver, and would those old yearnings still be there? Would that really intense love still exist? And I'd like to see that. And I'd like to see that I'd like to see that wait, a good 10, 15 years, so that they're at the right age that they should be when this happens, and bring that sort of history, that real life history of their life into that role. I'd like to see what happens.
I think I'd like that movie better.
Would you? Did you not like it?
No, I did. I wouldn't go as far as say I didn't like it. I think that I found Armie Hammer quite sinister, but maybe that's because I know things about him now that I didn't.
Yeah, that is
So that is the issue, isn't it? It is problematic because at the moment Armie Hammer's sort of cancelled to all intents and purposes. But those elements are problematic for a love story, I guess. So then it's a case of, do you recast completely and have completely different people, or do you just replace Hammer and have Chalamet? I don't know. Would Hammer have been redeemed in 15 years' time? Would he have made amends and been through his rehab and sorted himself out? Who knows? But yeah, I did not find him sinister. I found their romance absolutely intoxicating. But
I think I think for me, it felt almost like the big love affair was kind of between the camera and the Italian countryside, rather than necessarily the two characters.
Yeah.
It almost felt like every time one of them was about to say something interesting, it cut to a random step or something.
Yeah.
I just missed that. Whereas Before Sunset felt very rich, like the characters said a lot. This almost felt a little thinner, that they kind of didn't say enough. But I do get I wouldn't go as far as say I didn't like it. I do absolutely see how beautiful it is as a film, and I think Yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether I'd have found Armie Hammer's character slightly creepy without it being Armie Hammer. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, it was supposed to be Shia LaBeouf. Would you have preferred Shia LaBeouf?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if that had been worse.
This is not going down.
That's interesting.
I like Peanut Butter Falcon. That's a good film, but
He's a great actor. I love him.
He is a great actor. He's also problematic. Don't you think, Rich, that the silence says a lot between the two of them? Like when they're not saying anything at all.
Yeah, I guess it.
Quite
no,
important.
I think it does, and I think it's really nice. I just felt like, I don't know. There's just something it missed for me, and like you say, I think actually I'd probably like the sequel more because. From what you've described, Jane, I think I'd enjoy the sequel because it would feel like they'd both have grown a little bit more and they'd both have that kind of more developed relationship potentially. And also, I don't think it'd feel quite so problematic of the potential for an older man to take advantage of a younger boy. You know, I think that kind of that problematicness would have gone away. And also, I think maybe because Timothée Chalamet actually looks so young to me as well. I don't know. Maybe he looks younger than he is. Maybe that felt...
Armie Hammer always looks like a 40-year-old man to me. He's younger than me. I think he's younger than me in real life. He's younger than you, Rich.
He's definitely younger than me,
He's massive. Have you met him, Jane?
Yes.
Is he as tall as I imagine he is?
He's 6'3", I believe. He's absolutely huge and incredibly handsome, like a ridiculous person, not a real person, like a ridiculous, tall, handsome person that is just not of this world. You
can see why Timothy's character falls in love with him because he looks like he gives great hugs and stuff. So,
well, yeah,
you know.
Well, I mean, I think the thing is, isn't it, that he's supposed to look like a Greek god. That's the idea, isn't it? That
job done.
His father is this professor of antiquities, and Oliver is studying, antiquities, and every shot of Oliver is sort of taken from below, looking up as though you're looking up at this Greek statue of a man and this perfection. So I think Hammer works for me in that respect, that he is this, and also that he's kind of blank. We never really know much about Oliver in this film. We don't really know entirely what he's thinking. We know a lot about what Elio is, but not much about what Oliver's thinking. And so that works again for me for Armie Hammer because he's sort of blank in a way. So yeah, I think he's fantastic. So in that role, I should say, but. Yeah, I
feel exactly.
I love
the
it,
same.
and also, as you said, that the countryside and the sort of location is another character. It's all about
and the music.
Yeah, crema and paddling in beautiful rivers, and eating ice cream in the square and pedaling around those beautiful country lanes. I was so taken with it, and my friend was so taken with it. We actually booked ourselves to go to Crema, and we went on a plane, and we went and paddled in that spot, and we went and sat in that square and had a drink, and turned up outside the house that the Perlman's house was. The gates were open. We crept in and stood on the lawn. So we did a little...
Pictures?
Oh, yeah. Pictures. So we are that sad about this film that we actually did have our own little Call Me By Your Name tour. And I can report that all of it is exactly as you see it in the film, and all of it is absolutely stunning and beautiful. And I ate one of the best Italian meals of my life in Crema there. So I am biased, I know, because when I watch it now, I see the great buffalo mozzarella I ate and that amazing gelato from that store, and the fact that that river was dead cold but really delicious because it was really warm that day. So I have an added joy in that film.
Yeah, naturally.
And so because of that, it's that very scared feeling of if they did do a sequel, would they be able to replicate that sort of lightning in a bottle again? And I think it'd be quite difficult. So
when I was watching it, I thought, I bet they're going to do tours. I bet they're going to do tourist things where they take people around all these places.
I don't think they do tours, but it's very easy to find all the places. It's a very small Italian town in northern Italy. It's really easy. EasyJet flies into Bergamo, where they end up in the final scenes. It's very easy. So
we should go, Rich.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Have a little paddle.
Let's go. Let's do it.
It's delicious.
And I also agree about Armie Hammer being blank as well. We talked about that when we talked about Man from U.N.C.L.E. and he just is, just blah.
But it works for Man from U.N.C.L.E. as well, doesn't it, to a certain degree? Because he's playing this sort of spy that isn't supposed to have a thought of his own. He's just following his orders, and off he goes, and it kind of works for that as well.
And the whole Man from U.N.C.L.E. feels like a film version of GQ magazine.
Yeah.
That kind of feeling. Yeah. Sorry, Dave, you get your questions.
My two questions were: one, when you were on your little holiday, did you play 80s music and dance around like?
Of course, yes.
And two, your sequel to Call Me by Your Name, would you like it to be like Before Sunset, like a walkie-talkie, one shot, following them around New York or somewhere?
Because the book doesn't do that. So it would be sort of multi-centered. There would be a bit in Connecticut, and there would be a bit in Italy, and there would be a bit in Alexandria. So you would get locations, but yeah. I don't think the talking would work for this because there's a lot to get through.
Yeah. Would you have Luca back? Is he going to come back?
Yeah, I would love for him to do it again. I think he has such a brilliant way. I think his sort of way of capturing a place is mostly the success of that film. And he did it also in Bigger Splash. And,
fantastic film.
And, also We Are Who We Are. You really get a sense of place with him. So I think he'd be great. And also he knows the material so well, and if it was to reunite Timothy and Army, then he'd be the director to do it, I think.
I did read a quote that he planned to do it, but it wasn't 15 years in the future. It was like only 5 or something. So Timothy was going to be mid-20s, and they were meant to film it, so it was out now, but obviously that hasn't happened.
Some other stuff happened, didn't it?
Yes, things got in the way. Do you think he's a little bit annoyed that what's happening with Army? Like, he's like, hopefully that sorts itself out in some way or another. Or would you recast it? Is there an actor you think?
Maybe there's a case for recasting, because when you are 17, you are a completely different person when you are 27. So it doesn't matter if you recast them both. So yeah, maybe that's the way forward. I don't know. I'd like to see Adam Driver do Oliver older. I think he's really intense and interesting and really brave in his choices and the way he does things. And I think he could be a really magnetic, sort of intense older Oliver who realizes that perhaps he missed a boat and chose the wrong thing in the past, and he wants to grasp love with both hands. I think Adam Driver could be quite interesting. I don't know who I'd cast as Elio. I'd have to think about that. But
all our little minds are going now.
I was thinking, do you have a favourite scene? Because me and Dave talked about this, about our favourite scene in it, and just wondering what your favourite scene was from there.
I love the disco scene, where he's on the dance floor dancing away, and it really intrigues Elio, and he's looking at him with new eyes, because here's this guy who he thinks is a bit of a dick and who's sort of a bit snotty and just leaves him places saying later, and then suddenly he's just caught up in the music and he sees in him a passion that he hasn't seen so far, and that really intrigues him, and he sits forward on the chair and really watches him on the dance floor, and then gets up and they dance together. And dancing is a real sort of sensual thing, not if you're Michael Douglas obviously, but yeah, it really is. And so that, and also the tune is just a banger, isn't it? So I love that, and I love that it's then later sort of nodded to when they are having their last night together. That tune comes on a car radio and they sort of dance in the street to it, and it's bittersweet that tune was the start of their sort of romance and also the end of it.
Yeah.
What about you guys? What was your favourite, if you had a favourite in it?
I think mine, and I think yours, Dave, too, is the kind of the conversation with Elio's dad at the end.
Oh God!
It's kind of
he's an amazing actor, isn't he?
Yeah.
That guy. What's his?
Yeah.
Michael Stuhlbarg.
Which is just the
good in everything.
Just the kind of the I don't know. It almost makes the film about being lucky enough to be born to the right parents. That's kind of the theme of the movie for me, and just the acceptance and the kind of love in that speech. I think it's that's brilliant.
Yes, it is beautiful. It really is.
Absolutely. And everything you want your dad to say to you, I think
the last 10 minutes is pretty powerful stuff. I think the choices that they make to end holding on his face as well. What I love a credit that's not just credits that's saying else, like the film's carrying on, because people actually stay during the credits and read and watch. And it's remarkable acted. And the phone call, the choice that not to really hear Oliver, but to see Timothy's reactions and him, I think it's great choices.
To get really bad news down the phone, and then to just sit in front of the fire and reflect on what that feels like. I also love the fact that they put a crafty breaking the fourth wall in there at the very final moment. He looks directly to camera, and it feels like he said it's a sort of little nod to say, we all know what this feels like. We've all had our heart broken, and as much as it's terrible, we can remember the joy of what we experienced. As his dad says, remember the joy of it, and don't let it break you.
I do like how they try and keep it. You think they kept trying to keep it secret for the whole film, but the mum and dad clearly know. It's so obvious.
There was a scene that was cut, which was the mum and dad listening to them, sort of making out outside and knowing entirely.
Wish they hadn't cut that. That's the bit I think it needed. I kind of felt like it needed the mum and dad to have a conversation about it, or just be aware of it. I think that kind of I missed that. I wish they hadn't cut that scene.
But then, you get the dad really does say that in the speech that you like, doesn't he? That, I'm aware of it, and also that I've experienced it. It's really good. And I think the mum does. There's a scene at breakfast where they're sort of talking about things, and the mum looks at them both, and you think she knows. She knows what's going on. I love the mum. I love her. I love their dinner parties. I want to just go and sit in an Italian villa now more than ever, having never been away anywhere. Really want a glass of frizzanti in an Italian villa garden with
heat,
Mrs.
just
Perlman.
heat.
Yeah. Fresh peaches off trees.
But...
Me too. I have to sit under a parasol, but I could live with that.
Factor 70. I get it from Canada. It's called Coppertone or something. It's embarrassing. I had to fast forward I don't know how to put it, the peach scene today. I just find it very uncomfortable. And I don't know why. I don't know what,
You never defiled a fruit in your life?
No, and I've watched American Pie a lot. I was that era where I thought, hey, fucking a pie's okay. Yeah. But no.
I think it is in the book, isn't it? And far weirder things are in the book. So
I've heard there's weird things in the book. It's a little more graphic, isn't it?
Yes. So I guess you were always going to get that scene. It would be weird if it wasn't there.
I don't know, because I was in my house. I was in this room watching it. In the cinema, it seemed okay, because I don't know what... Actually, that sounds wrong, because I was watching it with other people, so I accepted that. But in my house, it's like, this just feels dirty. Just me.
He didn't ask the peach for consent, so we don't know how the peach feels, but I didn't mind it. I mean, boys do all sorts of weird things when they're teenagers, don't they? Yeah. Stick it in all sorts of places. So I don't think a peach is that weird.
I didn't think the actual peach thing was weird. I think that Oliver kind of threatening to eat the peach and really upsetting Elio, I found that more unsettling than the actual act, essentially.
I watched that bit.
That's the bit I didn't like. I didn't like that bit. I was like, no, don't push it.
Don't eat his peach.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I don't even like peaches. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, Timothée Chalamet will never get away from peaches his entire career, will he? When he dies, the Oscar sort of in memoriam thing will probably just be a peach. It's his career defining moment, but yeah. Bless him.
And those were Jane Crowther's Unequal Sequels. Well, it was nice to talk about Before Sunset again.
Yeah. And it was also nice to talk about Jewel of the Nile again.
Well, less nice. I really like Before Sunset, and it surprises me how much I like it, I have to say. And also, I'd never seen Call Me By Your Name before.
Yeah.
So, it was nice to get an opportunity to watch that, even though I found it slightly creepy.
Massively creepy, yeah. I like that Jane likes it. And I liked her talking about her little tour of Italy.
Yeah.
I felt like her little Call Me By Your Name tour of Italy. I found that really funny.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think more people should do that. I think more movie-themed holidays is a good one. So, go off to Tunisia and go and visit the Star Wars set in the desert. That's a good one.
I thought you said going to the Jewel of the Nile set and wherever it was.
Nah, don't do that. Don't fall into the Jewel of the Nile's tricks, right? It makes you forget how bad it is. Don't forget. Don't forget how bad it is. Never watch it again.
Yeah, this podcast points out that it is a bad film. And hopefully we don't have to talk about it again for a while. It'd
be nice. It seems to sort of crop up once a series, doesn't it?
Yeah,
so far.
It's not nice. Jane was brilliant, wasn't she?
She was really brilliant. It was really nice to have her on, and really, really intelligent. Really great guest.
Yeah.
I think, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, you should check out Total Film. It is one of the country's biggest leading film magazines. It's always top quality stuff in there.
And this sounds really pithy, but they have brilliant covers. Like
they do.
The effort that goes into the covers of Total Film is excellent.
Yeah, and their podcast is really good. The Total Film podcast.
Yeah.
Check that out. Jane's always on it, I believe, with a couple of others. We'll probably try and drag them onto this podcast at some point. So
that sounds like
they should get ready for that. Rich, what can you tell them about our podcast?
Well, you can find us on Google, on iTunes, you can find us on Acast, and you can even find us on Spotify. And when you do find us, give us a cheeky little subscribe, give us a like, but also tell your friends, because we think this is a really great podcast. All our guests seem to really enjoy it, and we think your mates would enjoy it too. So let them know.
Yeah.
Give them a little treat. It's nearly Christmas.
It is so nearly Christmas. I had to check the date of when this is going out. It's so nearly Christmas by this point. Happy Christmas, everyone.
Yeah, very nearly Christmas. And what's going to happen is we're going to take a little Christmas break. So this is our last interview episode before Christmas. And we're going to have a couple of weeks where we're not going to do our extra episodes because we have a little Christmas break.
Yep.
But as a very, very special treat on the 27th of December, there is a very special Christmas episode where we have lots of fun discussions about good, bad, and dream Christmas sequels.
Yeah, that should be fun. That'll be out.
There should be. Yeah.
I've got nothing else to say. Have you got anything else to say?
Well, social media, Dave.
Oh my
Can't forget
God.
the socials.
Oh yeah.
So you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Unequal Sequel, and you can also send us a cheeky little email if you want to. It's unequalsequel@hotmail.com.
Damn it, he got it right again. Yep, let us know how good we're doing. Get in contact, please. And yeah, thanks for everyone that listens for this last. Well, I think we've been going for 6 months now, Rich.
It feels like longer than 6 months. Not in a bad way. It just feels like we've been, we're more established than that.
Our first episode was released on the 14th of June.
Wow. Okay. I think we've been because we've been talking about it for a lot longer than that, haven't we, Dave?
Yeah.
I think we sort of started talking about it in like this kind of time last year. So I think, that's why it feels longer for me.
Yeah. Well, hopefully in a good way.
Yeah, in a very good way. I really love this podcast. I really have fun doing it, and hopefully everyone has fun listening to it too. Have a lovely Christmas. We'll be back with our special Christmas episode, and we'll see you all in January for our wonderful interview episodes with our even more wonderful guests.
Perfect. Merry Christmas, everyone. Have a good one. Hope you get all that you want. It's a goodbye from me. Bye-bye. And it's also a goodbye from the big man.
Ho, ho, ho. Bye.
Genius. Have a good week. See you next time. Bye.